video, I'm talking about clubbing downtown without military curfew. So June 17th of this year, the military curfew has been lifted, and it's going to be lifted for about 3 months to pretty much see how things work out, or in other words, to see if these military people can behave. This has been pretty much the talk of the town here in Korea because the military has been on curfew for a while. And what that technically means is they need to either be back on base or indoors, like back in their hotel room, something, and not in establishments by like 1 o'clock. Now, I don't know exactly how long they've been on this curfew, but I know it's been put in place because of something about a rape, and I also think a death as well. I will put the information that I know in the description box below so that you can research it and read the article for yourself. As a civilian, and keeping it honest with you, the military, not all, but they're known for getting rowdy. So much so, in fact, that for a lot of places, people don't show up to go and hang out until after like 12:30 when they know that the military is not going to be there because they want a peaceful good time. And I'm not going to lie to you, I was one of these people when I used to live here in South Korea, particularly in Daegu. If I wanted to go out somewhere, I would make sure that I would wait a little while because I knew that when the military guys are there, that they sometimes they be cutting up. Now, with all of that said, considering that this past weekend was the first curfew-free Saturday, my fiance and I decided to go out downtown to go clubbing. But we didn't go to just any club. We went to his favorite club where everyone knows his name, Juilliard's. And here was our verdict from that evening. A normal night. I'm not gonna lie to you, sure, there were a few moments where I was watching from the sidelines like, this ain't gonna work, this ain't gonna work, this ain't gonna work. But when I sit back and think back on it, there were literally only 2 moments where I was like, why would you do that? Like, for instance, there was this guy was standing on the tables because I guess the space on the speaker was occupied by some other people standing on those. Sometimes the dance floor just isn't enough. And then there was a moment where it kind of seemed like some type of shuffle or disagreement or something was going on. To be completely honest, even with that situation, I don't even think I would have saw that and thought anything of it until the DJ started like saying stuff on over the microphone. And then that's what drew my attention. But if it wasn't for that, I think I would have just like ignored that because I didn't feel threatened and I didn't feel like something was about to go down. Here's the thing, and this is moving in another direction slightly, but it's gonna connect. With our people, we are very expressive in ways that other cultures misinterpret. Sometimes they view us in the midst of our expression while we're caught up in the music as us being overly aggressive and vicious. I don't know about y'all, but I've been out when a song like Meek Mill's Dreams and Nightmares come on. And if you don't have any genuine ties to our culture or emotionally moved to the music on a deep level, like how we are, when songs like that come on, you're going to feel a little shook. And I can see this being an issue in places like Korea. And I say that because they aren't really expressive in the ways that we are expressive when it comes to certain things. So they'll play our music in the clubs because it's popular. They know that it's going to attract crowds, it's going to attract us, thus it's going to attract business. But they don't take into account that we enjoy and feel music in ways that they don't understand. So this is something that I think Korean business owners have to keep in mind. Not all of them, obviously, but especially the ones that are catering to foreign markets and catering to a particular type of people, especially now that this curfew has been lifted. So now that I got that out the way, I did take a moment to think about some pros and some cons about this curfew lift. I'm going to start with the pros of this curfew ban. Number one, what grown person wants to be on a curfew, especially for something that they didn't even do to deserve to be put on it? So I'm sure that this curfew lift has people feeling good, has people feeling like adults, has people feeling like they can really enjoy the nightlife of this foreign country that they're in while they're here. Again, I'm just a civilian looking and observing, but I'm pretty sure it has people feeling better about being deployed here. Number two, more money for business owners. Think about Juilliard, and I think about the time that the military normally leaves Juilliard. If all those people stayed until whatever time they felt like it, that's more money in the economy. Number three, when you break curfew, I'm pretty sure that it's grounds to be dismissed from the military. I can just imagine, like, you having a really good time, whether you're out at a restaurant or you're out of a club or a bar, and then you lose track of time, and then you get caught, and then there goes your career right there, just because you miss curfew. So I'm sure it just makes being here just a lot easier to deal with. So now I have a few cons of this curfew lift. Number one, because of the negative reputation that the military has, again, not to generalize, but there is like this stigma that comes with being military and then associated with nightlife. So because now there's this reputation that they have and everyone knows about this ban, I would not be surprised if some restaurants or bars, they are stricter when it comes to letting foreigners come into their establishments, right? They don't know who's military, who's not, but they do know that there is no longer a curfew. And they do know that sometimes some military people get rowdy, they break things, they get into fights, and they don't want to deal with that. So to prevent that from happening, they might just stop letting people come into their establishments to begin with. I've never had this issue prior to any of the military stuff, but I have heard stories of people not being able to get into bars or clubs because they're foreigners. So I can just only imagine how many more places might pop up like that because of this ban, and they just don't want any trouble. Number two, and this is something my fiance pointed out. He's out a lot more than I am, so he's able to observe these type of things. Because there is a curfew, right? If you go out, you're going to make sure you get all your fun in before you have to leave, right? So that includes you hitting up all the parties, hitting up your friends, hitting up them bottles. And so because there's a curfew in place, you're drinking, you're throwing back a lot more bottles because you're trying to make sure you get it all in before you have to go back. So now because there's this curfew banned, people don't have to drink that much, which is great. But I think that it's going to take time for them to realize they don't have to drink that much. So that transition from throwing back all you can before the clock strikes 12 to spacing out your drinks because you have all night now might take a little while. Number three, again, has something to do with me because I'm just a civilian thinking about all these things, especially this particular topic. But if you, let's say, you were dismissed from your military, your service, or however that's worded, because you missed curfew or whatever the case was, and now that they're having this curfew lift, I would feel some type of way if my whole career now is like down the drain because I missed curfew, but now all of a sudden there is no curfew and there's these opportunities now that weren't there for me when I was in the military. Like, so what happens to me now? Do they get compensated for their time? Do they get that written off in a way? Like, I don't know how that would reconcile other people in the past, their mistakes that they've made, if this is something that's just might be considered now. Do I think this curfew lift should be permanent despite past errors and mishaps and all types of misfortunate things? Yeah, I do. But will the military people try to be on their best behavior so that they don't resurrect ill feelings of the past from their military brethren, only time will tell. Thank you so much for watching. Be sure to stay tuned for updates. Bye.